I think when you think of a franchise quarterback, you think of Joe Montana, Dan Marino, right? Brock Purdy is just kind of a weird name. It doesn't sound like a franchise quarterback name. Purdy's a little too close to Turdy. I just think people have a hard time looking at that name and saying that's a franchise quarterback. I know when I first saw that name,
that easily is the most ridiculous point you've ever made. That's easily the most ridiculous point you've ever made.
Yes.
That's absurd. That's one of the silliest things
I
I've ever heard.
I guarantee you I'm not the only person that's like, well, that's not a quarterback name.
My first question here, is Brock Purdy a quarterback name?
I just you know what? At the very least, I appreciate that Mike Florio has a sense of humor about these things. Like West Virginia lawyer who's very like up in arms. At the very least, he is softened enough that he is able to laugh at that because like he knew when he was saying it was silly. Like I don't know. Brock is pretty cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the most ridiculous take I think I've ever heard. Brock Purdy, like I don't see why it's not. We've had way weirder names in the NFL, right? At quarterback.
Are 49ers fans taking this seriously? Like, I'm not as deep into the 49ers Twitter sphere as you are. Are they actually taking this seriously?
I don't think anyone's taking it too seriously other than to another example of Mike Florio just hating just to hate, because he has been known to be kind of somewhat of a Niners hater. I think it all boils down to that 2019 playoff game between the Vikings and Niners, because he is a known Vikings fan. But I just kind of like question, you couldn't think of anything better. Like I've never even heard like someone use turdy as an expression. So to go from Brock Purdy to turdy, like heck, even if I was just to make an argument, I think that Brock's name is even better as a quarterback because, wow, that's a Purdy throw. That's an easy pun to throw out there. I wouldn't think, oh, that's a turdy throw. I just appreciate that like Peter King just like listened to this is like, dude, what are you talking about right now? Like you just see Peter's face and you're just like, what? Like,
are you happy that you've got this off your chest? Does this feel good to really just let this all out on camera right now? Does it feel good to get this off your chest? You've been carrying this weight of all the doubters who are hating on the Niners and Brock Purdy. Does it feel good to get this one out off your chest?
See, I could understand anyone that was critical of Brock Purdy's week 3 game against the Giants from a play standpoint, but just to be coming after the guy's name with the most irrational take about his name just threw me off. Like, did anyone think Tom Brady was a cool name? Again, I'm not comparing the two. Did anyone think Ben Roethlisberger was a cool name? Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Wacko Flacco. We thought Joe Flacco was a great name. Like, come on. Like Matt Ryan. Does that sound like a quarterback name? I don't know.
You know? Matt Ryan does sound like a generic quarterback name. I will say that's like the most generic quarterback name I can think of. But
realistically, what is the weirdest name in the NFL quarterback sphere right now, or even in the past? Like, I can't even think. Like, listen to the name.
Oh,
like,
well, right now, Teddy Bridgewater. That's easy. Teddy Bridgewater is the easily funniest name. It sounds like a cartoon steamboat, like that. All the cartoon characters are driving down the Teddy Bridgewater.
But Teddy Bridgewater is kind of cool. I kind of like it a little bit, like especially because he has the Teddy Two Gloves name. I've heard some people throw out there like Kenny Pickett is kind of a ridiculous quarterback name just because you could literally make a euphemism for like interception with his last name.
I guess I misunderstood where you were going with that. In that case, the winner is the kicker whose last name is Blewett. I think the last time I saw him, he was in Washington.
Well, that is somewhere. A horrible kicker name. First of all, if it's not Dicker, the kicker, then, you know, all other names for kickers not named Dicker, just throw them out the window.
We'll say not enough good kicker nicknames. I've been advocating for this for years. I've been trying to get everyone's either like Money Mac or Money Badger. No, let's get fun kicker names. For example, Evan McPherson, I call him Kick Jagger. We need better kicker nicknames. That's something I've been advocating for years. But in terms of quarterbacks, Taylor Heineke's pretty good. That's a pretty good random quarterback name, I guess. But I guess in terms of like wacky and weird, it's hard to top Pickett, right?
Well, yeah. And, you know, I've never like looked at anyone who's currently playing quarterback right now and like discounted them for being a quarterback because of their name. And let's pivot now to starting to talk about kind of like Brock Purdy, the player, because that's what really matters. The last 2 weeks, you know, people have kind of been a little bit more critical of his play. People are kind of wondering, is the league starting to figure him out? Ultimately, he still put up over 300 yards against the Giants in that game. And what I found like impressive, and I think this is like all-time high for sack percentage, like according to the advanced metrics. He was getting like peppered with people coming from the Giants all night. The Giants defensive coordinator just kept sending him. And Brock Purdy kind of adjusted in the second half. I think I left more impressed. The Niners 3-0, they got a nice little rest. They go against the Cardinals this week. I don't know. Like, has Brock Purdy over the last 2 games given you any real cause for doubt?
Real cause for doubt, no. Nitpicking cause for doubt, sure. I mean, he's played a couple game manager games in his career. We talked about it on local radio. You may be able to see back there. I'm living in Sacramento. We cover the 49ers. And the thing we've been saying is like Purdy played like a game manager, but also had in the week 2 game against the Rams, a 93 passer rating, which was his lowest passer rating since his first start against the Dolphins. And for those who don't know, 93 passer rating is still above average because the average passer rating is 91.6. So his worst career performance is league average as a quarterback. And oh, by the way, last week, the game that people were a little bit more critical of, he had 111 passer rating in that game. Like if he averaged 111 for a season, that's Aaron Rodgers MVP level season. Like Brock Purdy, you can nitpick some of the stuff around it, but it's the best thing the 49ers have seen at the quarterback position since Kaepernick.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. And even with Colin Kaepernick, it was mostly just, the raw athlete that was Colin Kaepernick. The fact that, there was that beautiful throw I remember against like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where he threw it like 60 yards on the line. That's still the highlight of Colin Kaepernick's career that will be on repeat. And maybe Brock Purdy doesn't have that in his bag. And that's what people kind of question or always go back to. And they'll look at like this game in particular against the Giants and say, well, again, you mentioned he's a game manager. He just dinks and dunks. He just gets it out to the playmakers and they do all the work, because I think there was about like 200 plus yards after catch that people are pointing to. But I think that makes sense given, and I was struggling to think of the name, great football name here, Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator of the Giants, kept sending blitzes at him. What do you want him to do? Take 7-step drops all night and keep just airing it out 50 yards? That would have been the absolute worst game plan that the Niners could have rolled out there. I even questioned them going drop back as much as they did in that game, mostly because knowing that the Giants have like the worst run defense in the league. But I wouldn't call it an indictment of Brock Purdy that he adjusted to what he was seeing from the opposing team and he used it against them, because he used the Giants' aggressiveness against them in the second half. That's why the Niners exploded, because they kept sending those blitzes. And after a certain point, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to keep doing that, I'm going to just do this little screen that's going to go for 20 yards, 30 yards. Deebo Samuel's going to do something on a quick route. Christian McCaffrey, every time he touched the ball, it seemed like he was going 10, 20 yards. So yeah, I think that there was an adjustment, and I think that was for the better. I think it's just, people are at the end of the day, you're just going to keep using Brock Purdy's draft status against him. And I think at this point, it's just fair to say Brock Purdy was misevaluated in that draft. He was clearly misevaluated. Like if we were to redraft that one, would he go past the first round the second time around?
I don't think every team would be interested in picking Brock Purdy, so I don't know if a first round is a guarantee.
Would he be the first or second quarterback off the board, given what we know now?
Oh, well, yeah, because that quarterback class is like Kenny Pickett. Like, yeah, it's Kenny Pickett and Sam Howell. Yeah, and Sam Howell's been not terrible, but like, of course he's going to be the first quarterback taken, knowing what we know now. But even the 49ers misevaluated him, because again, if you've heard John Lynch tell the story, they were going to wait until undrafted free agency to pick him up. And they were like, why are we even messing with this? So we've got the last pick in the draft. We'll just take him, whatever. He's a practice squad guy.
I think the story is they told him it was either you or safety.
Yeah, pretty much. And I do understand like people who are skeptical is fair, because again, there's no precedent for a situation like this. And the reason there's no precedent is just because there's so much fucking talent on the 49ers. Like it's insane how much talent the 49ers have. Think about this, like 12 games ago for the 49ers, it was Kyle Shanahan's known for interchangeable running backs and he can make this work with anyone. And you look at the 49ers offense now and it's like they can't exist without Christian McCaffrey. Like everything they do is built around Christian McCaffrey and the workload that Christian McCaffrey has. The 49ers are different than they even were in early 2022 to now. And there's just so much talent across the board that it's so hard to evaluate exactly what it is. Like essentially at this point, and we're starting to build out a sample size, but through 9 starts, Brock Purdy is essentially playing like offensive rookie of the year Justin Herbert from, what was that, the 2020 season. He's essentially playing like offensive rookie of the year, Justin Herbert, in terms of his first few games. And we have no idea whether that's a misevaluation. Again, Justin Herbert was picked with the 6th pick in the NFL draft. So if he's putting up those level of numbers, then like we would suspect Purdy would probably be a first-round pick in a redrafted 2022 draft. But again, the thing that's just throwing a loop in all of this is the ridiculous level of talent the 49ers have on their team that will make it so that any interchangeable quarterback will be able to win. And the reason we know this is because I've seen Kyle Shanahan win multiple playoff games in which a quarterback didn't throw a pass for 2 hours of real time. That happened 2 times. They've won playoff games that way. So Brock Purdy, we're going to learn more about him with time, but that's the thing that sucks, right? It's just going to take time. It's going to take a larger sample size, a larger pool of games to evaluate him with.
Well, the thing is, obviously we record these weekly and we have to talk about what we've seen to this point. And what I've seen to this point, at least I can't hate on anything that I've seen. I'm a big JT O'Sullivan junkie. I love his contact with the QB school. Lucky enough to have JT on the show, and that was a great episode. Hope we could get him back. But some of the things that he points out about Brock Purdy, his base is solid. His anticipation is just ridiculous. And some of the ball placement, go back to the Steelers game in week 1, there was that back shoulder throw to Brandon Ayuk. Well, what about like this past Thursday, the back shoulder throw to Deebo Samuel? I have went 20 plus years of being a Niners fan and have not seen a lot of quarterbacks even be able to do that. And even quarterbacks I like a Jimmy, like a Colin Kaepernick in his prime, like even back end Alex Smith. I haven't seen a lot of quarterbacks be able to do just that. I love that Brock, what he can do. He's elusive. He's more elusive than I think he was advertised as. And when we're going through the whole Brock Purdy, Trey Lance discussions, one thing that always stood out to me is that Brock was a more willing guy to get up and go whenever like the pocket broke down. And his ability to roll to his left, roll to his right, I find that much more impressive. He evades a lot of sacks. And the fact that he was able to get out of a lot of sacks too, again, when he's getting pressured 85% of the time against the Giants, is something that you can't hold as a knock against him, because it should be something that's praised by outside bodies too. Like whenever you look at, because you're not seeing a lot of other young quarterbacks do that. Like we've talked about Justin Fields recently, right? When you watch Justin Fields, him holding onto the ball in the pocket is one of the most infuriating things, especially when there's open guys there, and the anticipation on his throws just isn't there. The anticipation on Brock Purdy's throws, it's there. Like before the guy even breaks on his route, he's throwing the ball, which is something that a quarterback at his age, 23 years old, I believe, shouldn't be doing. And I think that that's something, if you're a Niners fan, especially too, given the contract, the Niners don't have to pay him for another couple of years. So it's the best bargain in football. I saw on Thursday Night Football, Al Michaels was making more money than Brock Purdy was to be there at the game. That says a lot.
Oh, no. You almost got that. Al Michaels made more in that one broadcast than Brock Purdy will make for the entire season. That's what that was. Al Michaels on that one night made more money than Brock Purdy will the entire 2023 season.
I may have misheard this one, and I may be getting this wrong, but I think on the broadcast they even said Brock Purdy still has a roommate. He's still roomed with one of the offensive linemen to this day.
That's more of a normal rookie thing. Like Brock Purdy can afford to not do that, but
I mean, Northern California, man, is it really that bad out there?
It's not that bad. They don't like when they say roommate, it means they live in the same house together. They're not staying in the same room together. But again, that's just something where it's like most late round rookies who are kind of like on the fringe of making the team do room with each other. That's the more normal thing. I think they've just kept the same living arrangement thus far. But yeah, no, the Brock Purdy thing is because again, he's number 1 in the NFL in QBR. He's number 1 in the league through 3 weeks. The problem is it's through 3 weeks, but this is the same thing we said last year. The problem is it's only 6 weeks. It's only 6 games, right? So we're slowly starting to build out that sample size. And the thing I'm going to continue to say is he's not as good as Patrick Mahomes, but he's also better than Jimmy Garoppolo, which means he's somewhere between quarterback 2 and quarterback 22 in the NFL. Where he falls in that spectrum, we're going to find out as time goes along, I would assume.
All right, guys. Well, where is Brock Purdy falling for you? Do you think he has a quarterback name? We'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all our social medias from Juju and Kyle. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you on the next one.